Good day, YouTubers. Thanks for joining me. This is video 35 in my series of videos on Ontario Northland models in HO scale. And today we're taking a look at the Walthers Mainline RS-2. Now, these Walthers Mainline locomotives appear to be reuse of older tooling, a lot of which is original Proto 1000 tooling. Proto 1000 had previously been produced by Lifelike, and Lifelike was purchased by Walthers in the early 2000s, and Walthers continues to reuse some of that older tooling on some of their more recent productions here. They're definitely looking to maximize their return on some of these some of this older tooling. In my opinion, this is not a great locomotive by today's standards. It runs along the same lines, if not actually worse than I would have expected a locomotive 20 years ago at this price point to run. It only seems to want to run at a relatively high rate of speed. It does not move at a low rate of speed whatsoever. And the rate of speed at which it wants to run with even a small amount of power applied to it is completely ridiculous. So I'm not too sure why this locomotive, as compared to the original Proto 1000 running characteristics, are so different. Reading information online, they suggest that it's all the same tooling, but definitely the gearing or the mechanics or the motor or something has changed. So just to try and to illustrate that to you in a little greater detail, and I'll talk about this older locomotive here more in a second, but just to show off that running characteristic here first. So the newer locomotive by Walthers being on the right, the 20-year-old Proto 1000 locomotive on your left, and when putting just a little bit of power to them, that old RS-2 creeps along at a reasonably nice slow rate, while the Walthers unit takes off into the distance. So, looking at the Walthers unit in a little greater detail here, the paint applied seems to have a very glossy property to it. I'm not sure if that's the quality of the paint or if that's a decision that's been made to make these locomotives pop with a very glossy paint treatment, but I definitely prefer the much dulled down, more matte finish of the Proto 1000 RS-2 from 20 years previous. You can see there that the paint scheme is the same in the fact that it's the original as delivered paint scheme for these RS-2s. But this, the more matte finish of the green here, to me is much more appropriate from what we would expect to see as a model railroader on a quality model application. So in my opinion, again, not a highly rated model from my end, just another Ontario Northland locomotive that's been produced to appease the masses. And as in regards to packaging here, a standard Walthers Mainline box here. This one happens to be a little bit beat up. In regards to road numbers, it does appear like Unit 1300 and 1301 have been produced under two different production runs that were a couple years separated from each other, 1300 being the earlier production run from what I can tell. So that is it in regards to Walthers locomotive productions for the Ontario Northland, and I'm sorry that some of you out there might see this as blasphemy, but I'm definitely not rating these as very good locomotives in my books. They're definitely the worst running in my collection as compared to nearly everything else. Anyway, I will leave it there. We'll continue to move forward and talk about Walthers freight cars in my subsequent videos. Thank you.